Welcome to VERITAS. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss our latest episodes. Please like this video, comment below with your thoughts, and share it with others seeking truth. For more exclusive content and to support our mission, visit VERITAS7.com.
The questions you always had. The answers you were never given. The place to seek the truth. Welcome to VERITAS.
Tonight on VERITAS, our special guest is Ashlea Stinnett. For 17 years, I've never done a full interview on the subject of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Why? Because, like many of you, I thought this was a subject born of hoaxes, internet pranks, and too much imagination. But in recent years, credible and respectable people have come forward with information that challenged me to look again. And tonight, we open that door. Our guest, Ashlea Stinnett, is not just a witness. She is a student of the Sasquatch people. Since her first conscious encounter in 2013 near Mount Adams, Washington, she has experienced telepathic communication, body scans, orbs of living light, and over 1,500 UFO sightings. She has camped in their homelands, received their gifts, and witnessed their humor. What emerges is a picture of beings who are not monsters, but a people with wisdom, compassion, and a connection to dimensions we barely understand. So tonight, we ask, who are they? What do they want to teach us? And what does it mean for the future of humanity if they are real? Ashlea Stinnett is coming up next. Welcome to VERITAS. If this is your first time listening, welcome home. To access tonight's full interview and all of our exclusive material, simply join the VERITAS Plus family by clicking on the subscribe button at VERITAS7.com. While you're there, don't forget to visit the VERITAS store, featuring a range of great products, including Focus Life Force Energy. Experience the benefits with a 15-day free trial of FLFE, no credit card required. Also, be sure to explore our enhanced VERITAS Plus transcripts, offering full transcripts, comprehensive analysis, and exclusive insights for every episode. As a VERITAS Plus member, you'll receive a 50% discount on these enhanced transcripts. Want to get in touch? Be a guest on the program? Suggest someone or share feedback? Just click the contact button at VERITAS7.com. So sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's program. And you can find her on YouTube and Facebook, directly from Portland, Oregon. I'd like to welcome Ashlea Stinnett. Hello, Ashlea, and welcome to VERITAS. How are you?
Thank you so much. I am doing exquisitely, wonderfully well. I'm so excited to be here and to be talking to you today. It truly is this circling moment, this circulation for me, because when I moved up here in 2010 and began opening up my eyes to the bigger things, the bigger realities, and awakening to so much, your show was part of my autodidactic learning, and I am so thankful for what you do, the conversations that you've had, the stellar quality of thought and thoughtfulness that you have provided so many. I'm truly honored to be here and to thank you in this capacity, because you're part of the story too, Mel. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'm honored to hear that. And I like what you said, autodidactic. A lot of my listeners tell me all the time, I'm an autodidact and I learned so much, and I'm so glad that I'm making a difference, even if it's in a small way. But let me just start by saying this, that for years, and I told you this before, but for the listeners, for years I dismissed the Sasquatch topic, thinking it was more folklore than fact. Why do you think credible people, even researchers like myself, resist this subject until something undeniable compels them?
You know, I think we can look at so many things in this world as having inversion that's been created by controlling forces that don't want us to see or know the truth. And I think that that can definitely be said about the Sasquatch topic. we had we because our history with these people, and I do want to say people, they are not animals. They are very much a people, just like we are in some capacities, and also different from us. But these people have been with us and on all continents all throughout time. We have these mythologies and folklores and traditions from indigenous peoples, and something happened where our disconnection occurred with them. And at least within the confines of the 20th and 21st century, we have a shifting or an inversion of who they are to keep that separation from us and them. So I see that within the media. I see that within potentially covert operations within the subject of operators who are pushing false narratives. I can see that in questionable ways in which information is gathered, or what information is gathered, or what information about people's experiences are excluded. For a very long time, we've had a lot of people looking at this subject, but only looking at it from a very physical point of view, and that these are just animals, and they're very good at hiding, and there's nothing sentient or conscious about them, and they must be a few hidden about, being very elusive. And that does not match up with what people are experiencing. Because what people are experiencing, these firsthand experiencers and witnesses, are people who are highly, highly intelligent, who are highly, highly psychic, who are masters of the entire spectrum of psychic ability, who are healers, who are reaching out to people in incredibly loving ways. And so that is not what we've been presented by the television or by the controlling, structures within this subject. We've always been kind of warned about them, and that they're monsters, and that they're scary, and that, they're going to hunt you down and kill you. All of these really negative things. And then all of these people are having these experiences of habituation and like loving friendship and teacher-student relationships. Well, the narratives that had the stage for so long don't have that stage anymore. Through social media, through people like Brett and Jill of A Flash of Beauty, who have created some of the best documentation of witness accounts, I think, by far. We are so better off as a people having this type of documentation happening with what they're doing. So this stage is now being filled with actual eyewitnesses, people who are actually having these experiences with the Sasquatch. And so a different picture is being experienced and known by the masses. And that is that they are a people. They live in perfect harmony with nature. They have been witness to us doing what we've been doing in the destructive ways, or the traumatized ways, or the warring ways. They've seen how we've been warring against ourselves, each other, and the earth for as long as we have. And they've led us, they haven't intervened. They haven't pushed us into becoming better. They've just witnessed. And at this potential, I would say, precipice that we're at these days in 2025, with everything that's happening in the third dimensional world, with everything that's happening on the big theater stage, and then personally within each one of our internal ones, it makes sense to me that they are reaching out even more so. They are expanding the awareness of them to more people in these higher vibrational ways, through people's personal experiences and sharing this information, because it's kind of a go time right now for us all to recalibrate and move into this new place that we're moving into of a unified, beautiful world. I would say we're going through the growing pains for sure, but the potential is there. And when I see that they are reaching out like they are, and the star nations are reaching out as they are, that's where I'm saying, okay, buckle your seatbelts. It's time.
Obviously, there's always a trigger when somebody starts researching or diving into a topic. What was that trigger for you, and when did it start?
It's been an interesting journey. I moved up to the Pacific Northwest with my family in 2010. It was around 2008 to 2009 where internally I was looking at the job I was in, the career path I was on. I wasn't feeling satisfied. I was asking more deeper spiritual questions within myself than I ever kind of had. I I I began looking at things a little differently, and that fueled me moving up here. And when I moved up here, I started having a lot of sightings of UFOs, but like so many. There were so many, and it wasn't necessarily something new to me. I had seen UFOs in Arizona. I moved here from Phoenix up to Portland, and I'd seen them in Tucson. I'd seen them in Phoenix. I never, it was never a topic of interest for me, though. It wasn't a door that I went through. But when I moved up here, it was so kind of in my face. I couldn't deny it. And so that started this autodidactic education for myself, was what I was witnessing up in the sky. And that's where I found your show, and where I found Higher Side Chats and other people with these other viewpoints of the multidimensional realities. And it was also the first time that I ever had a computer. So I was able to dive into this education, this personal education, like I had never been able to before. And then that was coinciding with having actual experiences, right on my porch, right on my back deck, looking over the Columbia and seeing UFOs like floating across the water as well, not just in the sky. So all of those things were happening, and we started doing intentional campouts. My partner and I started doing intentional campouts, looking for other people in this area who had a higher knowing, higher understanding, and getting together and camping, doing those types of things, exploring those topics. So from 2010 to 2013 was a really big download of UFO activity. And then I was at a place near Mount Adams, and it was 3:00 in the morning. I was camped out at the edge of a field with the tree line behind me. I had a severe upper respiratory issue, but I still made this camp. I had a friend who joined me from Texas. So she came up. I was like, I'm not feeling good, but we're still going to go. And so we went. And that first night, I woke up in the middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning. I couldn't stop coughing. And so I decided, I was like, I got to go outside. And this is the weird truth. I knew I had to smoke a cigarette because it would create phlegm in my throat and get me to stop coughing, ironically enough. So I climbed out of the back of the van and I went over to the driver's side, and there was no one awake. It was, just dead of the night. The sky is really just big, no clouds, nothing's happening up there except for the stars. And I'm standing there, and I start to hear a call and response in the tree line behind me. And it sounded like this: hoo-wah, 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 hoo-wah. and it was on the left and the right side of me, behind me. And at this point, 3 years into this education and into this, learning about UFO people, star nations, other dimensions. Oh, Sasquatch are up here too. Oh, they're higher dimensional. Like I didn't have to go through like those lower levels.
Want the full story? This is just part one. Now offering video interviews and discounted transcripts for members. Become a VERITAS Plus member today at veritas7.com.
Of, oh, they're just a primate. Oh, they're just physical. I wasn't there when I had this experience. I was at this higher level of knowing, oh, they're telepathic. Oh, they're higher dimensional. So when I heard this call and response behind me, I turned around and my first communication to them was telepathic. And I said, peace be with you, much love. And then I started turning back around and I lifted my head up and I started looking up in the sky and I started laughing because I thought it was so funny that I am out here alone. I heard that and I just telepathed to some Sasquatch. So while I'm looking up, there were two orbs of white light approximately 100 feet to 150 feet above me that went in an X pattern right over top where I was standing. And so I had to look at that and I said, okay, those things are related. There's something to that. And there were other people at this camp out and that was the end of those two experiences. I didn't cough anymore. I climbed back into bed and went to sleep and slept well. And then that next morning, I went to the restroom and shower area to go clean up. And as I was in there, I started hearing all the women who were also there camping talking about how they heard Sasquatch that night. And, they were walking around people's camps and one person saw a Sasquatch staring in through the window of their tent. And I was like, well, here's some more confirmation. And now I got to study. I have to look into this. This is a path I have got to pay attention to. This is being offered to me and I'm going to focus on it. And then that's when I did. I just went pedal to the metal and did as much camping in their homelands, connections with other people who knew and were communicating with them and connected to them from 2013 up to 2018. And in 2018, it was kind of like that 5-year period of doing all of that was like elementary school. And then I was going to get shot straight into like getting my PhD. In 2018, I became friends with Barb Shoop on Facebook, and I had been a big fan of her show on YouTube. She's got a YouTube channel doing some of the greatest documentation for humanity ever. And she's doing this in her little hometown of Greenwater, Washington, which is about a 4-hour drive away from where I'm at. And she's lived there her whole life. And she's had some experiences with the Sasquatch throughout her life, but it all really began to do an uptick a few years back. And she began documenting what activity she was having around her cabin. And that turned into, she started inviting people into these camps. So now you've got a group of people who are coming together to have connection and friendship with the Sasquatch. And, everybody would have experiences throughout the day, throughout the evening. And then the next morning around the campfire, she's documenting what everybody's saying, all of their experiences. And it was a beautiful education still is, like I highly recommend going to Barb Shoop's channel and checking out from the very first video she did all the way up to present day. It is the best education. So she was doing these campouts and she put out on Facebook that if anyone wanted to go on a campout, to write a 500-word essay on the subject of Sasquatch and why you thought you'd be a good addition to the camping.
Like an interview.
Yes, yes. Where are you at? Do you know that they're people? Are you going to treat them with respect? I'm sure she got a lot of people wanting to go on these campouts because at that point she had definitely already become quite known within the Bigfoot and community. So I sent off my 500-word essay and I was like, hey man, this is where I'm at, and I would absolutely love to join. And I was picked. And in June of 2018, I joined her camping group. And that camp out was one of the most significant experiences of my life. And I have so much that I owe in the betterment of my life to how I connected with the Sasquatch clan of Greenwater and how they provided some of the biggest help I've ever had in my life.
Before you tell me the story of what you experienced there, when you heard the ooh-ah on both sides, does that mean there was more than one?
I'm quite certain. Yeah, there was at least two. And they were, behind me on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. And it was probably, I really see that literally, like every interaction that you have with them is education. They're teaching you something in the interaction. So, I think that was, there was education in that. And
so they were talking to each other in a way, but they knew you were there. Do you think they wanted you to experience their presence?
Absolutely. It was initiation. It was, these formative experiences that we have with the Sasquatch, especially if you decide to go down a route of a student-teacher relationship, it's absolutely initiation. And they'll never give you an experience that's too big for you to handle. And I think that's important to see that there is a compassion within the experiences. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people have so much fear, and that fear can drive the boat, through the experience. And if you come from a fearful place, then potentially that hoo-ha that I heard would be very, very scary. And that individual, who heard that, their heart would start palpitating and they would think that, these big monsters are out to get them. And that wasn't the case, right? I mean, I absolutely wasn't harmed in any capacity. And instead, I learned something. And that was because I didn't have fear, and I didn't let that cloud the experience through that filter. So, a lot of times you have people who, and again, it can be traumatizing, right? Anything in the supernatural experience can be traumatizing to the physical body. Our brains, our entire system is really functioning in a way to keep us chill within this environment. We're not seeing the total capacity of visual light spectrum. We're getting filters through the eyes. The brain is filtering things. Because if we didn't have those filters and we were seeing everything that was happening within the visual light spectrum, we'd look like our cats all the time, right? Just staring around and looking all over the place because stuff's happening everywhere. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I love the fact that we're at a place right now where people have the courage and the capacity to share their stories. Because a lot of times, and this is true for kind of anyone who's well known in the Sasquatch community, and people will come up to you, they want to tell you their stories, because sometimes you'll be the second person they've ever told in their entire lives. And they try to tell someone 40 years ago and that person, laughed at them. And then they just held on to it this entire time. And it's those numbers of people are just exponentially growing because there is a good community that's grown out of this supernatural, paranormal Bigfoot experience where people are just yeah, I've had that happen before too. Yeah, I've seen orbs. Yeah, I've seen the Sasquatch in a light body. I saw them disappear. I saw them turn into a tree. all of these stories are literally things that I'm just pulling out from my friends' experiences. We're all having the supernatural experience here. It's part of what this place is. And the more that you open yourself up to it, the closer you can look past that veil.
I guess it's a paradigm that we grew up in, and Hollywood fictionalizes it. I remember, the $6 million man with Bigfoot. Oh, everybody's watching that show, but we think science fiction. Then 1987, Harry and the Hendersons. You get that movie. And then you get the research of David Paulides, and I mentioned that I was not going to mention this, but you said it was okay. The 411 missing persons. And I wonder, does this have anything to do with it? Because a lot of people tell me, oh, it's probably Bigfoot taking them inside their caves, which sounds ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous to me as well, because the interactions that I've had with the Sasquatch that I've personally had, that type of behavior would never be done by them. They are higher beings. They are compassionate. They have so much love, and I can't even put it into words how much love they can project on you. It's more than you've ever felt in your life. It can bring you to your knees because of how much love gets enveloped in you in the moment of connection with them. So when I hear these stories of, connected with the David Paulides 411 stuff is something we absolutely need to look into, right? I'm very happy that he's done this research, because we've got to know the entire spectrum of experiences. And what I like to say and remind people of is that, yes, the Sasquatch are within the forests, but they aren't the only ones. And they are not every being that resides in the forest has your best interest in mind. We have these mythologies of the enchanted forest that go back real far, where there is an apprehension or at least a respect that you bring into the forest, because you are not at the top of the food chain when you're talking about fourth and fifth dimensional beings who can utilize the natural ley lines and frequencies of the forest to come through into the third dimension. So there's a lot of weird stuff that happens with some pretty violent murders and missing peoples and X-File type things that happen here, right? And but we absolutely cannot just put it all into the basket of Sasquatch and decide that that's, the answer to this. It absolutely isn't. And they would be the last on my list of suspects.
It seems people like you and I and many of the researchers in our circle get downloads, or something happens, drawn by intuition. My case is in 1983 when I was working in Mexico, met this lady who told me about my future. And she said, you're going to wind up, ending in a place that is beautiful, very hot, but beautiful, full of nature. Well, I've been in Arizona for almost 30 years. You moved to the Pacific Northwest in 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
Sight unseen, drawn by intuition. Looking back, do you think that move was guided, maybe orchestrated by something beyond yourself?
Fully. Absolutely. I didn't even know what synchronicity was back in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy, was I experiencing it. Everything that I was seeing daily, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, even more so. All of these things about the Pacific Northwest, all of these things that were originating from Portland or Oregon. I was buying products. Oh, this is a cool cheese. Oh, wow, it's from Oregon again. There was so much of that it really, it made sense now to me that, yes, this was absolutely guided. I'm quite certain that the Sasquatch had something to do with it, that the Star Nations had something to do with it. Look where we're at right now within this conversation. I've had these experiences so I can share. Like that's what it's about. These conversations are important. Discernment is important, right? And this is a big topic that deserves the respect and discernment with what information is out there, what information is, or if there's any type of swaying in a direction. It's very much about like detective skills with this, and with all types of information, right? What I've seen over 1,500 UFOs in the last 15 years. I started doing this mental tally probably around 2011. And I ended that tally in 2021 because it was at 1,149.
17 seasons of uncensored interviews. While you're hearing part 1 with ads, Veritas Plus members get part 2 immediately, plus video interviews and discounted transcripts. Become a Veritas Plus member today at veritas7.com.
At that point. And I was like, well, it's already over 1,000. I don't think I really need to keep count. But it averages about 100 a year of these UFOs that I'm seeing in the sky. And it's not just a little tiny light that's, up there or whatever. These are low. These are interacting with my thoughts. I'll send them up, God bless you, and thanks for stopping by. And they power up, they get brighter, they disappear, more pop up. There is a communication happening. So it's like I've had all of those sightings, and yet I don't know who they are, right? A lot of people on the internet are going to say, oh, they're these people or that people or whatever. I don't know, man. There's so much obfuscation within the topics of UFOs, with other dimensionals, within Sasquatch. And I would say why? Because it's real. It's real. It's a part of this reality. They've always been here. I don't think we're dealing with beings who are coming from some far, far away light years, 100 light years away. We're dealing with beings who are here, who are underground, who are in different dimensions of Earth. And all of those are, whether it's been artificially helped or not, they're all pushing in on each other. These dimensions are pushing in on each other. I'd say more so now than what we've experienced within our lifetimes. And so again, it makes a lot of sense that they're reaching out as they are.
Do you think certain lands carry a stronger energetic imprint that amplifies these phenomena?
For sure. We both know the work of Michelle Gibson, and we can look at how artificially the ley lines have been manipulated through architecture and city building and all of that. And I look at the different energies that the Southwest holds. I look at the different energies that the forests of the Pacific Northwest holds. I don't think that there's necessarily a one spot that is the mega spot, but like all areas of our land and water hold these different energies. And there is a larger concentration of Sasquatch up in the Pacific Northwest. They are all over. They're on every continent. They're in the deserts. They're on the beaches. They're in the mountains. They're in the valleys. But there is a higher concentration in the Pacific Northwest. I've also witnessed one and know of 3 pyramids in Washington. There's something going on here that is energetically specific to, I'd say, a heightened activity within the skies and within the forests.
So the orbs, this is another part that for a lot of people is new, but I've been discussing orbs for a long time. I didn't know there was a connection between Sasquatch and the orbs. What are these orbs? I have images that I cannot release to the public because literally the people who gave them to me have been threatened, even last year, I tried to put them on certain videos, like, maybe a slide here, a slide there. And they found out what I did, and they called me and they said, "You want us dead? Stop it." So what is up with these orbs that those who want to be in control don't like it, that we talk about it?
Orbs are a really interesting topic, and I became aware of orbs before I became aware of the connection of Sasquatch and orbs. And I got really into orb photography around that 2010 to 2015 timeframe of my big awakening, and then I was documenting all of this activity with orbs. And it wasn't just still photography, but I was looking at orbs through third generation night vision with infrared spotlights and seeing them moving up and out of the ground and through trees and down these super highways of thousands of orbs through the forest. What are they? I think that it comes down to non-corporeal energy being able to travel, and that it is a type of travel that's experienced by multiple types of beings. The Sasquatch definitely utilize this shape. I think it's interesting if you just think of the monad. When you look at the orbs in photography and on videos, they very much have this outer shell with an interior, central, thicker, or, denser spot. It very much looks like the monad. It very much is this shape that holds all shapes. Before any other geometric shape comes out, first you have the sphere. So it makes sense to me that this would be a very unified, like, beginning point of corporealness or shape of spirit. So are we orbs when we are sleeping and when we're astral projecting and when we're dreaming? Are we leaving our bodies in orb forms? Do the Sasquatch know how to manipulate their physical form? Yes. And are they changing into orbs? Yes. I have absolutely witnessed orbs of the brightest, most electric, non-sounding, no sound connected to them, but the brightest, whitest electric light floating through our camp above our heads, hiding with sentience, with knowing, hiding a little bit up in the trees and stealthfully moving. Although, how stealthful can you be as a big ball of light? But there is interaction, there is intelligence. And it is one of the forms that they choose to use in order to travel. But I don't think it's just specifically them that have the keys to that vehicle. I think we all do. And in those, earlier epochs of time where we were in our higher dimensional abilities, I'm sure we were able to shapeshift straight into that orb form just the same as they can still.
So you think they are the orbs themselves? They're morphing into what, what we see?
They utilize that shape for sure. But it's so universal. When I see most of the things that I see in the sky from, what I quote unquote ships, but really, they're balls of light with this interesting, center and this outer shell. So it's a form that I think many can take and many choose to take. And if that, I don't know the dynamics of that or the science behind it, but it's something that is not going away either, right? Like the sightings of orbs, and not just like what we see, secondarily after we take the photo, but our eyes are getting used to seeing them in real time.
So these two orbs that crossed over silently overhead, was that a coincidence or was it confirmation, in your opinion?
I think it was absolutely confirmation. It was part of the education. It was part of that first lesson. Hey, these two things are connected. it's that's been a focal point of mine for sure. If you go to A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, which is a documentary that I participated in, there is footage in that film that I took of an orb that we watched for over 45 minutes to an hour doing acrobatics about 6 to 10 feet away from us inside the tree line during a camp. And it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And this was a red orb. A lot of times that they're white, but they also are blue, they're red, there's different color orbs.
Orange. Yep.
Orange, yes. So, there's when you think you have one question answered, you're only getting 1,000 more questions. That's how this works. No one is an expert in this, in the subject of Bigfoot. Absolutely no one. But, we all hold some pieces to this puzzle. And the more we talk about it, the more we can understand.
See, I wish. I feel so guilty that I cannot release these images to the public. Maybe one day even if I have to use something else so that the subjects of the story are not threatened, I can do something to show you. But I can tell you this happened in the late 80s, the 90s, in the early 2000s when one of them moved to Arizona. I'm not going to name names, but I see these images and they tell them when they're coming back, hey, buy yourself a disposable camera because digital might not work, that kind of thing. And they take pictures and they said, we want to demonstrate to you what we can do. Here, where's your car? Open all the doors, the hood. We want to see what it is. Okay, now watch this. Through 2 or 3 of the images, they're dematerializing the car. And this is in 1988. No AI, no digital cameras. And you think, why? Why are they here? And what I'm told, time travel has a big component here. Your opinion on this?
Makes sense to me, man. The Sasquatch are time traveling as well. They're definitely going back and forth into time. They don't operate within linear. And, that experience that you just shared, I can think of last year, we went to, a group of us got together, Bigfoot and friends, and we met up in Oklahoma so we could go watch the eclipse in the Path of Totality. And we stayed on our friend Arla's land. Arla's in her 70s. She's had connection with the Sasquatch people, with the Dogmen, with the Star people for 60 plus years. And while we were on her land, I went to bed because I was tired, but some other people stayed up around the fire and they saw a portal open the size of an F-150. So, these are very real experiences and there's no explanations that we have that are just, finite and there's always going to be 1,000 more questions. But these things are happening and they're happening, I'd say, more than ever these days. And it kind of makes sense to me, just considering where we're at.
As we speak, they have this, I don't know if this is a dog and pony show, what's happening in Washington, more drip disclosure or more disinformation. I can't tell. I've been at this for decades. So until I see at a grassroots level that this is happening, because I will never trust world leaders telling us that this is happening. Where do you stand on this?
Disclosure comes from within. Like, that's it. There's no, I'm not here to try to disclose anything. I'm sharing my experiences and we all have that. And it's an internal thing. I'm certainly not going to be looking into the world of anyone in the political spheres or the positions of power or within empire to give me any type of insight into the higher dimensional experiences I'm having with the Sasquatch or with the star people. That's an internal thing. And
Empire.
So,
Why am I thinking of Neil Kramer when you said Empire?
because he's a friend of you, and he's a friend of
Friend
me,
of yours.
friend
Yeah,
of so many people, and we're all better people for having him in our lives. Thank you, Neil Kramer, for everything that you do.
Well, he's a great friend. He always opens the premiere of this show. Make it a special season coming up soon. Season 18 coming soon. But many people still call us an animal, Sasquatch an animal, but yet you call them people. And us, we always think that we're the top of the food chain. We're the number one here. But I always say, if there's a civilization that comes to Earth from another place, another dimension, obviously they're more advanced than we are. Maybe they see us as an anthill.
I don't think that they see us as an anthill or diminutive in any form. I think they compassionate us, knowing that we are these beautiful souls who came here to do some really big things. They see past all the bullshit, of humanity and where we're at, because
Loving this interview? We have 17 seasons of content just like this, plus part 2 of every episode. All ad-free for Veritas Plus members. Become a member today at veritas7.com.
I think it took a lot of trauma for humans to get into the state that they're in right now. And that empire that we talk about a lot and that we know is out there is very much behind trying to get humans into the lowest state as possible, right? The Sasquatch are people. They have beautiful family structures. They have very conservative values. They're so family oriented. They are only having children when it is appropriate to do so for the balancing of their population. They will never have an overpopulation. The children are brought in sacredness, not out of, oh, I'm pregnant again, or, oh, I'm an animal and I'm going to have a litter every year. Not at all. There is a sacredness that they bring another child into this world. And they are in a complete harmony with nature. This is something that is interesting to ponder. And it was information that was given to a buddy of mine, Mr. Tom Cantrell. I very highly recommend looking into his work. He's an author. He's a scribe for the Sasquatch people.
Huh. Okay.
He's written over 13 books, and he's had a relationship with the Sasquatch, again, that goes over 60 years. He's in his 80s right now, and he's one of the elders in our community. And we are so thankful for everything that he shares. It's just amazing, the information.
Would love it if you could introduce me, because now that I've had you here, I'm going to fall into this rabbit hole, and I'm not going to get out for a while.
Good. It's a good place to be. And there's some phenomenal people who are within this sphere. It makes sense that the Sasquatch people want to be friends with them. They're good people. So Tom, he had asked, I'm going to share two points of wisdom, one from Tom's teacher and one from Arla's teacher. And I think it says a lot. So Tom's teacher, when Tom had asked him, when was it that our people split with your people? What was that separation? And his teacher told him that our people, the Sasquatch people, evolved with nature. And we went in one direction because we were evolving with nature. Your people began to evolve nature to support what you thought you needed to do. Like, we started manipulating nature to support an evolution in a different direction instead of allowing our evolution to naturally flow with nature. So there's a separation there between our people and theirs. And a second thing I'd like to say is something that Arla's teacher, his name is Kashima, and she had asked him one time, Where did humans go so wrong? Where was it? Why are we like we are right now? What happened? And Kashima told her, your people do not respect the land. Your people do not respect the water. Your people do not respect the air. Your people don't respect each other. But most importantly, your people don't respect yourself. And that's really big. That's
the most powerful thing you've said in this hour.
I know. It's really powerful. It puts a mirror up to your face to make you go, how am I conducting myself? Right? So they have so much compassion for humanity, and they really are reaching out to people in some incredible ways. And what I've seen over and over and over is a theme of healing trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual trauma, things that people have held on to. I see them go into these camps and connect with the Sasquatch on these levels. And then, they come out better people. They come out, healed of these old emotional wounds. So what happens when you have a human who is healing and within higher capacities of their being? You're creating within a being who can't be controlled by empire, right? When we are sovereign within ourselves, as the Sasquatch are sovereign within their place here, you can't control that. And I know that there's a lot of conversation about, the military are doing this and they're doing that, and they've got, they have Sasquatch that they're holding captive and they're doing genetic studies and all of that. I just don't think they're smart enough to do that.
That was my next question to you.
Yeah.
Have they ever captured one?
There's stories, but really with and I could never know for certain, right? But for me, it's highly unlikely that government in any technological capacity could ever one up a Sasquatch.
An interdimensional being. Yep.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening, considering what I've seen the Sasquatch do just in the play and in our camps where we're connecting with them.
Tell us more. What have you seen them do?
Well, last year, they either shape-shifted into me or they time looped me last September. We've had portals open up. They'll bring lost items. A couple years ago, one of the campers, she was fishing and she had this little tiny lure, and she cast her lure out into the creek, and then it went missing. And it was like, you're never going to find that. And that evening, after she had asked the Sasquatch, hey, if you guys know where that little lure went, it was one of my favorites. She found that lure sitting on the steps to her RV.
Wow.
So they've done physical healings on my body. I've had physical healings of my ankle, of my knee. I've witnessed that for other people who will go into camp and say, I got a bad shoulder. Can you help out with that? And then at nighttime, we'll be in our tents. Everybody's spread out camping and, their different areas, and you'll hear them. You'll hear them walk up. You'll see the orbs of light flying around outside. You'll hear the crunching of the gravel underneath their very heavy feet. And then you'll feel scans of energy and frequency going through your body with concentrations on the areas that need healing. And the next morning, you don't have pain.
How are you not freaked out? You're in the middle of the wilderness. There are bears there. There are big animals, and you hear this crackling of the leaves.
Yeah.
And you just remain calm?
It's been a process. It absolutely has been a process. I'm human,
Yeah, because we're designed for fight or flight.
All of these systems are within us for our benefit, right? The fear that comes up and like the things that happen physically with the heightened chemicals and the dumping of chemicals and the heart racing and all of that stuff. Those are all aspects to help you within the situation. So it really becomes like a mental game as well of like quieting down the body and, knowing what you're hearing and also knowing there's nothing to be afraid of with them. If you have good intention in your heart and you come with respect and friend vibes, like that's what you're going to receive. There is an aspect of mirroring within the forest. And that's why it is so important to have discernment and to come in with clear intentions. If you have negative intentions and if you have ill will in your heart, absolutely every single being in that forest is going to know that. And you are going to repel the ones who are nice and fun and awesome. And you're going to attract the ones who want to manipulate those feelings within you. So you will never again like get one up on a Sasquatch and think that you're going to put a trail cam up here and sit there with your gun and shoot one. It's never going to happen. And when you step into the forest, the Sasquatch, these are collective conscious people. When one knows you, they all know you and they all know your intentions.
Oh, they're connected.
Your entire history, your entire soul story, even before you step into the forest. So keep that in mind. You are naked in front of them. They know it all.
I always think that the movie Avatar had so much truth, especially with the trees. You probably have heard of these stories of the giant trees that existed on this planet, whatever you want to call it, millennia ago. And the whole planet was a grid. They covered all of it. We have more concentration of oxygen, nitrogen, and something happens. This is why we're smaller now. This is why vegetables are smaller. What do you think happened in the past? Something
happened. I think that the work that Michelle Gibson's doing, the work that John Levi is doing, Conspiracies Are Us. There's so many good people looking into this. Jason Breshears as well. Like everybody is coming from some different angles, and yet we're all kind of, seeing some similarities and some thorough ways through our history that certainly isn't being taught within the academic books, right? Like they're not telling us the whole story. And in fact, I'm sure it's been so wish-washed and rearranged, it holds very little truth compared to what we can physically see. That paints a totally different picture. And again, that makes me really interested in getting to a point where I can cook dinner for the Sasquatch and ask them some questions. Sit down and ask some questions because they have had an unadulterated witness to our entire history. And we don't have that, but they do. And gaining that information and being able to have that exchange, that's changing everything. And I really see, considering how much of an uptick has happened within the last 5 years, that in the next 5 years, I could be making tacos for them and getting that information. We all could be getting those informations from them, which again is going to rebuild our roots. Our roots have been totally just cut out from underneath us by the empire. And I see the Sasquatch as the ones who are going to help us remember who we are.
This is so fascinating. When do you think that time will come? And obviously, you have interacted with them, not dreams, not imagination. You've been there. Do you think that you and some of the others are becoming ambassadors to them? Because obviously, they can't show up and say, all right, we're ready to interact with you. Are they choosing people via initiations?
It's that thought has crossed my mind. It really has. And I'm happy to be in this role. I really am, to be able to tell my stories and to have these experiences with the people that I am, because I know it's making a difference, not even just for, the people who have already had experiences, but for our entire collective. There is a bridge making happening right now, and the conversation is getting wider and bigger because, I get to come on shows like yours and we get to have these conversations, and it's going to spark so much more. When you look back at 1967 with the Patterson-Gimlin film, I know Bob. I've been able to hang out with him many times. He's one of the most graceful, amazing, beautiful men in the entire world. He is a legend, and his wife is so wonderful. They're amazing people. And I see this footage that he took back in 1967, and I know in my heart that that Sasquatch, who has been affectionately known ever since as Patty, she was a female. She showed herself.
You're talking about the one that everybody knows where, well, I didn't know it was a she, but she looks towards the camera and keeps moving. That one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a real footage. That is real footage. She is a female.
Where was this?
This was in Bluff Creek, which is in Northern California. And when I get you connected to Tom, he can do the entire breakdown to show you intermembral index of the length of her arm. There's one or two frames within that video, within that film, that show her arm in comparison to her leg. And it shows that index of length that, without a doubt, shows scientifically you are not dealing with a human. And what we have really come to understand is that back in 1967, they knew what they were doing. The Sasquatch knew what they were doing. This was a sacrifice that Patty, that Sasquatch, was going to make. She was going to become the face of the Sasquatch people in, the reality of human existence. She was going to be the face. They have a shying away from being on camera, just like the Amish people do, right? But she went past that and sacrificed that aspect so that she could be seen. And so that she hit that domino to get our people back into a connection with her people. So that was 1967, and here we are in 2025. And it's only been within the last 5 years or so that people have been comfortable enough to start talking about the multidimensional aspect of the Sasquatch people. Meanwhile, the Sasquatch have told my friend Arla, everything that we can do, your people used to do as well. You've just forgotten. You can do it too. You've just forgotten.
This is an incredible talk, and we have one more hour to come. You don't have a website, but you have a YouTube presence and a Facebook presence, right? Tell us more so that our listeners can learn more about your work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I do have a YouTube channel. You can find it under my name, Ashlea Stinnett, Ashlea, last name Stinnett. Crypto Cryptid 1487 is the handle. I'm just doing my documentation over there. I go on different campouts throughout the year, and I also have a pretty amazing series that's happening right now, all about an urban park here in Portland that is completely surrounded by city, by neighborhoods. There is no green belt going in or out of it, and there are Sasquatch people living in this park.
Can you talk about that during part 2? Because that's going to be a great cliffhanger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk all about it in part 2. And for everybody, go over to my YouTube channel and you can see all the videos that I have about Mount Tabor there, along with all the others. And I'll be doing a new series here in the next couple of months, which is going to be a lot of fun. And so keep an eye out for that. Also on Amazon, I'm taking the photography that I am doing at these campouts of their structures, of their glyphs, of the different things that the Sasquatch are doing, of their homelands. I'm taking those photos and I'm making blank books. I'm making journals with that photography. I know how important the written word is. It's such an important thing to do for us to document, and I think it's a really important thing for us to document outside of technology. So when we get back into this relationship of the pen and the paper, we can record our stories. Our stories are just as important, right? Our personal journeys, and having that documentation for the future in a physical form, I think is really important. So I started up that little project using the Sasquatch photography that I take. And you can find that on Amazon just by looking up my name.
Great. One more hour to come with Ashlea Stinnett. Family, don't go anywhere. Go to the members section. You don't want to miss part 2. This is Mel, and you're listening to VERITAS. Here's a track from Truth Frequency. You won't hear anywhere else. If you like what you hear, you can get the full track at veritas7.com on the page for today's guest.
They walk the edge where silence hums, where language ends, the rhythm comes. In a forest carved by time, we crossed a line we couldn't find. A red orb floated through the dark, like an ember from a sacred spark. 6 feet out, it hovered still, a force unseen, a cosmic will. 2 fists press into forest floor, told us we'd been here before. Messenger between worlds, carried by light, speaking in silence, moving through night. Not here to frighten, but here to reveal what's hidden in shadow is ancient and real. They don't give more than we can bear. They come when hearts are soft and bare. We called with laughter, not with fear, and they came near. Oh, they came near. Mapped it with a hunter's glass. The space between was thin, not vast, and in that glow I knew inside the lines between the worlds collide. Messenger between worlds, carried by flame, not just a story, not just a name, a being of wisdom with something to teach. If only we're willing to listen, to read. They walk in light, they walk in trees, they bend the air, they ride the breeze. They come to heal, they come to show that we are more than we know. Messenger between worlds, calling through time, teaching
Thank you for listening to the first part of this important Veritas episode. To hear the rest and access all of our exclusive content, head over to the Veritas Plus member section or click the subscribe button at veritas7.com. While you're there, don't forget to visit the Veritas store, featuring a range of great products, including Focus Life Force Energy. Experience the benefits with a 15-day free trial of FLFE. No credit card required. Want to get in touch? Be a guest on the program? Suggest someone or share feedback? Just click the contact button at veritas7.com. Thank you for listening to Veritas, because you don't want to believe, you want to know.